Sengoku period warfare was a business of human abduction. Many people were seized from defeated villages and traded as commodities. Records show that Portuguese merchants purchased numerous Japanese people as slaves, taking them to Macau, Goa, or even their homeland. But, in truth, an even more astonishing reality was hidden within this. What exactly was the structure of this human trafficking, allegedly involving even Sengoku daimyo? In this video, we will reveal 3 truths: the reality of ran-dori during Sengoku battles, why human trafficking became rampant, and the fate of those sold. Now, let's delve into the shocking truth buried in the darkness of the Sengoku-Era. The main segment also details the background behind Toyotomi Hideyoshi's ban on slave trading. Sengoku period warfare wasn't just about defeating enemies. Ran-dori, the act of plundering, was commonplace. This wasn't merely about acquiring supplies. The targets of ran-dori were not only rice and valuables, but also the inhabitants of enemy territories themselves. Women and children, in particular, were valued as new labor. Those captured were called Hideyoshi, human captives, and were led to the victorious domain's territories or markets. They were literally treated as commodities. Among Sengoku daimyo, some condoned or even actively encouraged human trafficking through ran-dori. It was an effective means for territorial expansion. Thus, human trafficking markets formed throughout war-torn Japan. Their prices varied depending on social status and age. The slave trade wasn't confined to Japan. It expanded overseas, facilitated by Nanbanjan, such as Portuguese merchants. They were key players in the East Asian slave trade. In Louis Freud's Historia de Japam, the sale of Japanese people as slaves is vividly documented. Japanese people were often sold overseas. Missionaries morally criticized the slave trade and called for its abolition. However, it's said that some also engaged in slave brokering to fund their own activities. These abducted Japanese slaves were transported to Portuguese colonies like Macau and Goa, and even as far as India, Africa, and mainland Portugal. There, they were forced into harsh labor and a life without status. Many were taken far from their homeland, never to set foot on Japanese soil again. Many of those sold into slavery were women and children. Beyond being mere labor, they sometimes endured the tragedy of being treated as sexual slaves. In Japanese society of that era, the value of human life differed greatly from today. In a time of constant warfare, people could lose their lives at any moment. Perhaps that's why there was little resistance to selling prisoners of war as commodities. Poverty also contributed to people selling themselves. Once enslaved, regaining one's status was extremely difficult. They were treated as unpaid labor, and their status could even be passed down to their descendants. However, some did acquire new knowledge and skills in foreign lands and rarely found success. They were the few exceptions amidst brutal fates. As Toyotomi Hideyoshi unified Japan, human trafficking through ran-dori also reached a turning point. Hideyoshi would address this issue seriously. In 1587, simultaneously with the expulsion edict against Christian missionaries, Battering, he issued a slave trade ban. This was a groundbreaking decree aimed at restricting human trafficking. It is believed that Hideyoshi's motivation for this ban stemmed from indignation over Japanese people being unfairly treated as slaves overseas. Reports that missionaries were indirectly involved in the slave trade are also considered a significant factor that propelled Hideyoshi's decision. However, Hideyoshi's ban did not immediately eradicate all human trafficking. Slave trading, especially through smuggling, continued thereafter. Entering the Edo period, the shogunate further tightened its control over human trafficking. Yet, forms of servitude, such as selling oneself due to poverty or indentured servitude, Nankiboko, persisted. Ran-dori symbolized the ruthless reality of the Sengoku-Era. Warfare was not only a force that transformed people's lives, but also a business that stripped them of their lives and freedom. The human abduction business of the Sengoku period is not merely a dark chapter in history. It is also a raw testament to an era where human dignity was imperiled. The history of ran-dori and human trafficking teaches us, living in an era of peace, the importance of remembering past mistakes and protecting human dignity. By delving into this unknown darkness of the Sengoku period, what should we learn? Ran-dori was not just an act of plunder during battles. It also encompassed the aspect of a human abduction business that generated new labor and economic profit. This human trafficking expanded through a complex interplay of Sengoku daimyo's tacit approval, merchants' pursuit of profit, and demand from overseas. Those abducted to foreign lands suffered from harsh labor and discrimination, and many never returned home. Their existence represents another tragedy of the Sengoku-Era. Behind the dazzling battles of the samurai in the Sengoku period, there was a harsh reality where many nameless people were plundered and sold as commodities. This little-known history might be deeply questioning us about human dignity and the values of an era. When battles ended, victors would raid the defeated territories, capturing the remaining inhabitants. This marked the beginning of the act known as ran-dori. Those captured were torn from their families and possessions. Many marched on foot to distant slave markets. At the markets, they were inspected and appraised. Even those of high status could be sold for low prices. Heartbreaking partings from families were an everyday occurrence. When foreign merchants arrived in Japan, they discovered the value of Japanese people as commodities. Portuguese merchants, in particular, were active. They exported the surplus humans created by Japan's warfare to lands abroad suffering from labor shortages. Thus, the path for Japanese slaves overseas was opened. It is said that the number of Japanese slaves abducted by Portuguese merchants reached tens of thousands. A tragedy of unimaginable scale was unfolding. Some missionaries bought back slaves to gain converts. For them, this was also a means to encourage conversion to Christianity. However, not all missionaries acted from pure motives. Some profited from the slave business. Japanese slaves were mainly employed as domestic servants or plantation workers. Sometimes they were even sent as soldiers to battlefields. They were forced to survive in foreign cultures. Many forgot their native language and ended their lives in foreign lands. The background to Hideyoshi's ban was not only his concern over the harsh treatment of Japanese people as slaves overseas, but also his wariness of the missionaries' growing influence. He felt a strong sense of crisis that Japanese Christians were complicit in the slave trade, selling their own countrymen. This ban marked a significant turning point in the international trade of Japanese slaves. The large-scale export of slaves gradually disappeared. However, forms of servitude such as selling oneself due to poverty or indentured servitude, nenkiboko, persisted stubbornly throughout the Edo period. No pinko ni yoru sanmairi yato ittashinde no risu wa otonji teken chankatsanru koto ni naru.
History still hides untold stories. Subscribe for more forgotten history.